Hi, and welcome to my quick talk about Odoo and AI. This talk was originally done for the Odoo meetup in Munich on the 25th of June 2026, but we're doing an English online version as well to be able to share it with everyone. So today I'm going to speak about Odoo 19 AI features fairly shortly. Then we're going to look into a lot more advanced agentic AI use cases with Odoo. We have a quick slide about compliance and also the big question, what is the expectation for the future? What's going to happen with AI long term? Let's start. So, as you probably have read in the news over all the different sources, there was a lot of worries about what happens with ERP. Will ERP die? Will they become the core system of everything? And there's a lot of interesting different studies about this. But I think for me, the most interesting is actually that Andreessen Horowitz, one of the biggest investors globally into AI native companies, actually recently published a big blog post, a big report, Why the World Still Runs SAP, which basically declares that ERP systems will remain the system of record and AI will just connect to it, basically. This is the same we believe in, that Odoo will be the backbone and will be the platform where a lot of the data is stored and thus become the system of record also in the time of AI. Additionally, you might have heard that a lot of the ERP vendors are now trying to capture more of the AI market and are trying to put themselves between the models and the system, the ERP they provide. For example, SAP recently announced that the API policy is going to change and it's not going to be as easy as before to connect directly to your favorite AI tools, but instead it runs kind of through the ecosystem. And in my opinion, they also would want to be the middleman that then resells the tokens and the AI services, which will obviously limit quite a lot on how you can use AI in your ERP environment. In the Odoo world, we don't believe that's going to happen. First of all, technically, it's not possible because Odoo is not this one big central platform with all the self-hosting, with the community edition that could easily restrict you. And also, Odoo is built on the idea of openness. The full open source setup that Odoo provides is basically the essence and the core that also Fabienne believes in. So we do not believe they will ever restrict what you can do. Now, next to working with AI in your ERP and using AI to help you do your processes, one thing that we also see is that Odoo is extremely efficient to develop for with AI and also to configure and data migrate AI-based because we have all the APIs that are open, we have all the open interfaces, there's a lot of information about Odoo and how to do things on the internet which the AIs can use, and the ecosystem is super open so everyone shares their knowledge, which then again, everyone shares it with AI as well. Additionally, more than 1% of the world's publicly available Python code is Odoo, and it is known fairly well that this is obviously also then a large chunk of the learning code that the big AI models use, and that's also why they're so good in coding AI coding Odoo modules and Odoo features. This obviously helps us a lot as implementers, and we believe that we're about 2 to 2.5 times faster than 2 years ago to develop any Odoo feature that you wish, which also means that, our projects basically go a lot faster and it's a lot higher return of investment to develop small features and adjust things here and there for your own needs. Additionally, there's this big question, what happens with all the people that basically copy data from A to B? Obviously, copying data from Salesforce to SAP or from HubSpot to Odoo is not a great use of time. And Bain actually recently published a big report saying that's about $100 billion market to get all this cross-system labor out of the way. Luckily, when we connect Odoo to AI, it doesn't even need to copy data from A to B because everything is already integrated, which also makes it a lot easier for the AI to solve complex tasks because we can give it better context. Odoo as the single source of truth is actually replacing a lot of micro SaaS services. So the average company that we implement, and also here at Much, they use a lot less software than the market because so many things are covered by Odoo. And we believe this is going to be an even bigger advantage in the time of AI because the more specific context the AI can grasp, the easier it is for AI to make the right decision. For example, if your opportunities and all your information from the new customer process is also connected to the sale order that you then have in Odoo, maybe you can judge and make decisions about the sale order differently, because maybe you know from the CRM that this client intends to buy a lot more and it's a trial product and so on and so forth, so maybe it should be prioritized. Last but not least, Forbes, as always, with strong insight here, they have discovered that if you start actually using AI in your ERP, companies are a lot more likely to bring up a lot of use cases and start using them in production. And they estimated that any company that starts in the first 12 months, they will implement at least 30 use cases with AI in their ERP. And to get you started and make sure you do this first step today, we will make sure that you will have all the ability and all the knowledge to do so. So, as promised, we will have a quick look at the Odoo standard Odoo 19 AI features. As you have heard, Odoo 19 has received quite a broad spectrum of features for AI. The features are a little bit more lower level in the framework, so it's not the solution to specific use cases, it's more building blocks you can use to build any possible AI automation yourself. We think they were really cool when they came out in September 2025, but now with the big new Claude models coming up, with agentic AI just being available so readily everywhere and so powerful, we feel like they've gotten a bit weaker. But that's just because AI develops so incredibly quickly. So let's have a quick look. Actually, when you check out the related presentation that we will make available next to this video, all the underlined things here are links, so you can actually have a quick look into every single feature. We have videos and blog posts linked here that will explain them in a lot more detail. In the simple AI agents in Odoo 19, they actually bring a few really cool features that we think have very high value if a human still uses the ERP. First, one of the coolest features is the ability for the AI to set filters and thus also search and to configure reports like pivot views. And that works really elaboratively. So you can put in a text description of what kind of KPI or what kind of information you would want to see. And we have even tried things with like 35 site conditions, and AI will just set up insanely large filters that are then becoming normal Odoo filters, so you can still adjust them, you can still change the values, and will configure a perfect pivot view with the right drill down, so you can see the information that you want right away. The same obviously also goes for search. You can just ask the AI something, it will open up the right view for you, so it also helps you to navigate. But in my point of view, the navigation through AI is a little bit slow for me, and as a power user, I'm just a lot quicker to just jump to where I want to be myself. The second feature here is summarize and answer questions on every model. In Odoo, you can always click the little AI button on the top right corner next to the user, and you will have a little chat window that allows you to ask questions about the object you're seeing. And sometimes it will also pull in related data from around to answer questions. So for example, if you're taking over a project from a colleague that's on vacation, AI will be able to very quickly figure that out. And it will also write notes and emails directly in the chat that you then with one click can just send out or save as a note. This all also works in the website live chat. Odoo now has a built-in rec we're going to see in a moment, so kind of like your knowledge database being able directly to speak to AI, and this allows the live chat to become a lot more powerful. You can still define the same rules as before, but now you can add the AI chat into the rules, so as soon as maybe the question or the problem is a bit more advanced and your normal rules don't cover it, or it's not a new customer that just wants to drop information, you can have an online support chat with Odoo built in minutes. Next, we have the AI automations. These are really this kind of building blocks I talked about before. First, we have the AI field. It's a new field type in Odoo that still allows for relationships, for dropdowns, for free text, so whatever type of data you want, but it's always filled by a prompt. So for example, if you have opportunities and you want to categorize them, what kind of product group they belong to, you can use an AI field with the product groups where you describe each group, and then the AI will automatically categorize your new customers, your inbound leads, into the different business areas you have. So these are the AI fields. The AI automated actions, they work the same as all the automated actions in Odoo. So you configure them based on rules, and then they will do AI stuff for you. They can fill out fields, and so on and so forth. The AI templates for emails and notes, I think that's one of the cooler features that I think is quite innovative. So for example, when you reply to a help desk ticket, for example, the first automatic reply in the help desk ticket, you can add an AI box that will then automatically check if this ticket is a classic problem that people have often or information is missing, and then directly inject this back into the email that is sent to the client. So in the first automatic reply, it can already include, hey, we saw in your request you didn't add your order or customer number. Could you please send that to us? And also this problem is usually solved by this and this. So you can also try that ahead. If this solves your issue, please close your ticket here. Otherwise, a human will respond to you fairly soon. And I think that's also a really cool, small, innovative hack to have. Last, Odoo added some background features. One feature that I like a lot is that all the AI chats you do, they're saved in the Discuss app. This allows for all your AI conversations to be stored locally and actually not end up somewhere else. And the same goes for the RAG. A RAG is a retrieve augmented generation, which basically is a way for AIs to very efficiently search through your content, so they don't have to read everything and use a lot of tokens. And Odoo actually used a Postgres feature to build this directly into the Odoo database, so you don't need third-party software, you don't pay additional license fees, it's just built in. And last, Odoo supports quite a bit of models now, so it supports different models, unfortunately only from OpenAI and Google, but very soon there will also be Anthropic support, and then it's going to be probably 15 to 20 models supported. Nevertheless, in this layer that integrates the specific different AI models, as always, it's a foundational model in Odoo, so you can extend it and very easily in this Odoo native way integrate other models as well, which allows you, for example, to bring an open source model, integrate it yourself, host the model yourself, and do these kind of things. So this is also something we're really excited about. So this is all the things we have in Odoo 19 Enterprise. Let's have a quick view what we believe will happen in Odoo 20. Obviously, some of this comes from rumors, some of this comes from the in-between versions between 19 and 20, but obviously Odoo can still do whatever. First of all, here, there's a lot of things we see around more advanced analytics. I personally already like the analyze feature a lot, but it still lacks some intelligence here and there. Odoo believes that it's going to be a lot better, so that's something I'm really excited for because I already like the current one. The second here is an AI data cleaning AI, so an AI that will check data that maybe will be able to check configurations, see if a product is misconfigured for what it's supposed to be, and flag that at an activity. I also think that that would really solve a lot of problems in practice for companies. And next is the support agent with the automatic history. That's actually something we built with the building blocks and the automations in Odoo 19. So effectively, you have the Odoo Help Desk app that answers questions for clients. And then when a new client asks a new question and the AI doesn't find anything in the database, we then go in and basically create and then we basically create a new knowledge article that we then send to a human to approve. So we kind of built this indefinite knowledge base of solutions for all the problems. And so yeah, the AI can basically always draw from a bigger pool of solutions, making our support more efficient. And this is something that Odoo will kind of build in, that this is really fully agentic in around the entire support function. We also think that maybe AI agents will then be able to trigger the usual actions on a help desk ticket. So for example, if that makes sense, ask the human to just approve the refund and then the action's already there. So this is also something that's really cool. Lastly, one thing that's already available in Odoo 16 to 19, but we hope that Odoo will add to the standard, is the MCP server. And we're going to see this in a moment, but it's effectively a way for any AI to talk to your system right away, which would make it a lot more accessible if that becomes part of standard. So now let's have a look at the really cool stuff we're gonna talk about today. And that's the agentic AI in Odoo. So already, as mentioned before, it's not really part of Odoo standard, but it's very easy to add on to any Odoo system. First of all, what is agentic AI? in the end, I think there's not a 100% clear definition yet that everyone can agree on, but for us, it always means the AI gets specific context. It decides with that context what to do and is fairly intelligent, and it can then actually implement its own actions. So how does that work in practice? For example, with Odoo, we can provide an MCP API for the AI to talk to Odoo. We will, in this MCP configuration, kind of explain to an AI what kind of things are available, how to use them the best. So there's a lot of information on how Odoo works that we hand over to the AI as knowledge and skills, so it can actually use the Odoo API to get all the context it needs and then extends its context when it figures out additional complications. Next, we need a model. The model basically makes the decisions and drives the process. Right now, we feel like Claude Opus is the best in class. It's also very expensive, but for very advanced tasks, it's probably still the best choice. We do use Gemini 3.1 Pro, especially for use cases that do not only require Odoo data, but a lot of data from the internet, research things, so on and so forth, because obviously Google has the best access to Google and thus has very, very quick access to third-party info. Last, for the people that want to have more sovereign AI, we do like the Qwen 3.7 model. The model is originally Chinese, but it's open source, open weights, so you can run it on your own server. There's also a lot of cloud providers that will run it for you, so you don't have to do the heavy lifting, and has a lot better price-value ratio, so that's also something to look into. And as said, you can run it fully independently, so nobody will ever get any of your data here. Last but not least are the actions. How does that work? Again, it runs through the API. The model decides what it wants to do, and with the skills and the tools we give it, it will make decisions and bring them into action and update Odoo, create things, trigger actions, so on and so forth. Last but not least, obviously in this environment, we already heard, hey, there is sometimes a use case where you maybe want to connect to two systems. That's obviously still possible. You can give the AI access to the internet at the same time, as most models have by default. But also, for example, you can connect your Google Ads or your Asana or your Jira, and then you can also connect all these data sources together, which obviously gives it a lot more power and makes especially cross-system checks a lot easier in cross-system analytics. Now, as I promised, we will actually try to do this today. There is effectively 3 requirements to use an MCP server here. To be honest, for a production environment, you probably want to host this MCP server professionally on a server. You don't want to run that locally. That adds a lot of security issues maybe. But today, so you get started and you can actually see the power and feel it for yourself to get inspired and do more and more. We will do it a bit more quick and dirty. In the end, there's only 3 requirements. You need to have Python 3. You need to have Cloud Desktop. Cloud Desktop you can download online. Python 3 is effectively available on Windows, Mac, and Linux by default. And we're going to install UV because we want to use a tool called UVX that will just help us to make the whole process super smooth, so you don't actually have to do any of the heavy lifting. This can be installed super easily. Let me quickly open my terminal here. So in the terminal, now I just need to go back to my slides. Just open any terminal on Mac and Linux. It's going to look very similar to what I do here. You can just open up the terminal, put this in. In my case, it's going to be installed, so the output's going to look a little bit different. And then you're done. So this is super easy. Even if you haven't used terminals a lot, I think you can handle that. It's going to be super, super, super easy. Now with this done, the whole process gets a lot easier because we don't have to fiddle with a lot. In the next step, we're going to have to look into Claude. And we need the desktop app here because the MCP server will run on our computer. And for Claude to connect to it, Claude also needs to run on our computer. You can just download the desktop app online. Exists again for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And then we're going to have a quick look into the settings. So let's do this now. We go into Claude. We go on the settings. And we go in the developer area. Okay, and now here you see this edit config button. The edit config button will open a folder, and in that folder you will then see the following file. You have the Claude desktop config.json file. In this case, it's a fake, so my API key here is not published on the internet. Here, you can basically just copy what you see on the slide. If this is on YouTube, if you watch it on YouTube, we're also going to put that in the description. So you have the whole definition here. You can just copy it as is. Anything behind the purple one here we don't need. And then you just need to add your own URL, your API key. You can create this in Odoo by clicking on your user and then going on security and then click new API key. If you want to use it for a little bit longer, make sure you select a duration for the API key that's longer than 1 day. If you're in Odoo 17 or 18, we want to add the user here. You can still do it on Odoo 19, no harm done. And your database name, again, you get that from your Odoo fairly easily. Now, there's 2 more extra things that you saw here that I'm going to quickly explain on the slide. So we have everything set up. And now, if we want to go really powerful, there's 2 extra modes on the MCP server. One is called the you only live once mode. Why do you only live once? Because this can kill your entire Odoo, and then it's dead, and then it has only lived once and has been terminated. So be a bit careful. The YOLO mode has incredible power. It can do anything in Odoo. If the user you use is an admin user, it can literally do anything. It can change configurations, can change your access rights if you're an admin. So be careful. AI gets creative. Maybe you don't want to do that in production. The second we activate here is the Odoo MCP enable all methods calls. This allows the AI to call a whole bunch of different methods from Odoo to do more actions that otherwise would be limited. Again, for security reasons, that's why these 2 things are specific flags we set. Talking about security and the MCP server, there's actually an additional layer here. Next to the MCP server that's going to run locally and maybe for production will run somewhere on a server, we do have an Odoo module that you install on your Odoo. This module is not required to do what I'm going to show you and to try things out. But what it does is it allows you to add additional security settings for your MCP server. So if a lot of people use it, they will then be limited in what can be done. So this is probably quite helpful. That's also why it has about 2,500 downloads as of a few days ago on the Odoo App Store. And the same as the MCP server, it exists for 16 through 19. So even if you have an Odoo that does not have any native AI features yet for 16, 17, and 18, you can still use this. The way it works is you basically decide what models the AI is allowed to read, write, and update. It's a whitelist, so anything that's not on the list, AI cannot touch. And by extending that whitelist, you can basically decide what the powers the AI will have and which it won't. In my recommendation, right now, to be able to also start on production right away, I always recommend to allow the AI to create activities and messages and the related models. You can probably ask an AI which ones exactly to select. That's going to be super easy. And then we usually allow it to, for example, read sale orders, CRM opportunities, and a few related models. So, it actually can create some value for you. And then instead of doing things, it will be able to create an activity on models you don't want it to edit. For example, on the opportunity, I think it's fine. The AI can't break that much. I would allow it to edit some fields so that if it researches extra information, can edit in the right fields on the opportunity. On a sale order and on an invoice, I would be a bit more critical in production right now to have that edited. I think you need some extra safeguards here. So here I would only allow the AI to read the data to help me make decisions. And if the AI says, hey, this invoice, something fishy is going on, it can still add the activity in this through the activity model. So that's also going to then be visible in Odoo. So for example, if you want to check all your accounting and assign activities to your coworkers, AI will still be able to do this by only reading it and being able to create activities, but not edit or create invoices. Again, the AI server talks to the MCP. Here today, the MCP server is locally, but it could be hosted on a server. And then this talks to your Odoo. And if you use this Odoo module that I show here, that's easy to find on the marketplace and free and open source, it will then have some additional safeguards on the Odoo side, not only on the MCP server side. Let's have a look at the first real use cases. The first use case I want to do is the inside sales operator AI. If you have a field sales staff, then you know that when they drive around, visit different customers and write quotes, they always need inside salespeople to help them update all the information and get everything done. Now, the way I have experienced this in many clients is it often runs through WhatsApp. There's a lot of voice notes quickly after the meeting or quick phone calls. So we're going to simulate it in that way. So let's go over to Claude and start doing that. I'll start a new chat. And I will use the voice feature. So it's kind of like sending a voice note on WhatsApp. You could actually integrate the WhatsApp chat with an application that would then actually do this right away. So you could actually send a voice note on WhatsApp if you fiddle a little bit with it. Okay, so let's go. Hi, Claude. I've just visited my customer Adidas, and Adidas said they want to update an order that they already filed a few days ago. And what they want is they want to have 80 cabinets and only 5 of the boxes that are also in the order instead of the current amounts. Please check if they're available on stock, if they haven't been shipped yet, so we can still change the order. And if both are true, please update the order with the new quantities and resend the order confirmation to the client. All right, so now we have our voice message recorded. It is already transcribed. Yeah, it's a bit shaky. Transcription from voice is not always perfect. There's a lot of ooze in here. Should definitely work on that. So let's send that out. We're going to actually have to select a little bit bigger model. Here we go. Okay. While Claude is starting, we're going to have a quick look on the Odoo side. So this is my order from Adidas. It currently has 60 cabinets and 15 boxes. Couldn't actually remember the full product name, so I just called them boxes, but they're storage boxes. I think AI will be able to figure that out. The order is already confirmed, and as we can see here, nothing has been delivered. Also, both products on stock, and maybe there's actually a few more on stock for this product where we're going to extend our quantities. Yeah, that's great. We actually have a few more. So the AI should now be able to actually do all the things we asked it to do. Let's go back and watch it work for a moment. Okay. So we're going to fast forward a little bit on the chats so you don't have to watch the AI think for so long. We're going to fast forward. All right, AI has actually done things. So let's have a quick look what happened here. What you can see actually in these dropdowns is all the thinking the AI does. And then again, you can see how it uses different tools like search record for Odoo, tries to find the partner, found it fairly quickly, then goes in, finds the sale order. So each of the things that you would do as a human in the system, it is actually doing now here with the API. So it found our sale order number 33 with Adidas. I know there's not so many orders in the system, but it would have actually worked if we have a few more and they have different states and different products, then it just takes a lot longer. It figured out nothing is shipped, so that's correct, great. It checked also that there's 207 free cabinets, so that's available. It checked the boxes, okay, reduction, obviously free stock, so that's always fine. Yeah, so this is going pretty well. It verified, updated the order, verified after this, and then sent a confirmation email. All right, so AI has finished up. Let's have a quick look what it did. Got the receivables, seems all right. Figured out what date it is. That's important to know which money is due. found out all the outstanding amount, 400,000 euros. That's pretty decent. Checked all our internal users here. So it found the ID, so it knows later who to assign activities to. And okay, 73% of the money is 2 accounts, Adidas, again Adidas, and Openwood. Okay, I had a quick look and assigned me the 2 big invoices here. Yeah, maybe it's fair. It also said that Mark should also go on, so we're gonna double escalate on the big ones. Yeah, I agree, makes sense. And yeah, it can do a few things now. Okay, so let's go. Let's ask it to assign our to-dos as activities in Odoo. Maybe I just skipped over that and it already did it. Let's check maybe at the same time. Go in Odoo. Our invoices, there's no activities. Now there's already activities. I just didn't read that. So maybe it's gonna do that twice or tell me I'm silly. Maybe we stop it. Cool. So that was done. You know what? Maybe let's get emails sent out already for the 3 small ones. Perfect. Please send out the follow-ups for the 3 small invoices directly. Track and chatter on invoice. So that's perfect. We're gonna ask it to send our 3 invoices. Nice. We're gonna not watch it work again. So we're just gonna have to trust that this happens. Maybe we check in later and see if that did. Okay, so that's use case number 2. AI helped us to save the day, collect some money. We don't go bankrupt. It's a good day for us and for AI. Last but not least, let's have a look at a quite complex, very difficult use case. So this is use case number 3. It's about an automated master data setup. So it will automatically, from a very, very lean Excel file, pull all the data and actually try to import it to Odoo. The file we have is a product file with 400 lines. It's actually just 5 products and a lot of variants. So that adds an extra challenge because we need attributes and attribute values. And I would assume there's going to be a few thousand calls to the API that will have to be made for this use case. Now, as this eats a lot of tokens and it takes forever, I'm going to just show you my trial process here so we don't have to wait again. As you can see, it's pretty long. Let's quickly download the Excel file here again. Yeah, that's cool. And quickly open that up. Here is our file. Okay, so what we input into the AI is actually just a list of a few clothing items with colors, with sizes, with prices, and with an EAN 13 code and a made-up SKU here. Okay, so from this we want to get full Odoo product data that we can then directly use operationally. So let's have a look. How does that work? I had a very basic prompt. We also tried to mislead it a bit by sending it to import only t-shirts, but it will decide to import everything later. And we also want a description and all the stuff around it, to be honest. We want to have a vendor set up so we can just then find the price for this vendor, but can already add a realistic wholesale price, so we have a pre-existing condition here. All right, AI very quickly figured out it's not just t-shirts. It figured out which product, sizes, and so on it is. I think it's very simple stuff. So now it will check all the data that's already available in Odoo, the attributes for the products, the sizes and color. As you might know, size and color are default attributes, so they would always be available. And it figured out that a lot of the attribute values, especially the Levi ones, they're all missing. Then it thinks about, hey, how do I configure this? What kind of store, what kind of type is it? Is it storable? So on and so forth. So it will already make some decisions, and that goes on and on and on and on and on. And it will then import it. It also, on the way, actually, that's quite interesting. It decides that we should use auto-generation from the attributes. So we then only create the 5 templates, add the attributes to the product templates, and then automatically get the variants. That's the right choice in my opinion, because it will make it a lot easier if we later add another color for our Levi jeans, for example, to automatically generate those variants for all the sizes as well. Okay, so yeah, it does that, it imports it, it gets the 403 ones back, goes in for the variants, imports then all the different numbers. So that's a few 100 API requests here again. And yeah, then it's getting quite done. So we're having most of the things ready. Now, I tried this, I've tried it before. Claude is getting very picky on not copying stuff from the internet blindly. I think it also makes sense. Try to make it sneak a picture from somewhere, didn't do that. So I tried to convince it, but it didn't budge. So you're safe from copyright infringement here. Okay, so then obviously looking through the settings, there were a few settings I thought they could be optimized. So I have all my products here, it's pretty cool. We have the prices, it's fine, it's a good, but originally it was set at delivered invoice by ordered quantities. If you have ever run a shop, you know that if one t-shirt in a size gets lost in the warehouse, you're not gonna go run after it and try to find it, but instead you gotta decide to just drop it from the order and invoice delivered quantities. So that's something I didn't like. It also didn't add any reordering rules originally and so on and so forth. So there were a lot of things actually missing. Yeah. I also wanted to get more product information, ask it to attach that here. I asked it to create a new route that we can use for buying. It actually didn't check it, so that didn't do it fully. Yeah, so it got a bit better. We added prices, so on and so forth. So let's have a quick look what it's doing with that feedback. Yeah, I gave all the feedback here. It's roughly what I just told you. And it goes in and goes wild and comes back with a lot of problems, ask it to review all the config, finds a lot of issues, and yeah, and then suggests a few questions, and I give it a feedback that I believe is right. We should do stock valuation in average cost. I think it's the best policy as an e-commerce company in this case, and so on and so forth. Change the invoice policy, add the buy route. Yeah, and then it goes all out and is starting to do that. It's actually getting a little bit tedious because I didn't install the packages, so it couldn't do that. Yeah. Gives me some decisions, and then we get that done, and in the end all the product data is configured, and it actually created estimates for all the different sizes, how much they will be sold, and automatically added reordering rules. So as soon as I open the product up, we can then basically auto order based on the reordering rules and create the purchase orders for the right amounts right away. So I think that's also pretty cool. So basically build a small statistical model here for me. All right, and yeah, that's use case number 3. It's imported, it also found some duplicates and so on, and there was missing info, and it checked and proved configuration. Now, as a big warning here, we have tried, especially for demo environments and workshops, to configure a lot as well with AI, and that doesn't really work. Even on less complex demos, things break quite a bit. So if you do this, don't do it in production, definitely triple check it, there will be mistakes. AI does not yet fully understand the full process, and the more complex and longer it gets, the more it hallucinates issues. So yeah, be very careful. I think this is maybe something that will be fully usable in a few months without additional guardrails and additional effort around. So you probably wonder, this is pretty cool. I would like to use that right away and save some time and money, but how about the compliance? So first of all, we have 3 issues. We have the security issue, which means people could steal my data and kind of break in. We have the secrecy issue, which is if somebody learns all my customers and all my data, they might find some secrets that I don't want the world to know. For example, how much margin I make on a certain product. And then last but not least, we have the data protection issue. The data protection issue is about all the personal data you process, especially in Europe, where it's highly regulated what you're allowed to process, for what kind of purposes, for employees and customers. Now, going through the list, what does Odoo bring by default? There's no Odoo AI obligation. AI is an app in Odoo, like every app, you cannot install it or even uninstall it after you've tried it out. So it's super easy to get rid of, and you can have a zero AI system. Maybe you wouldn't be here if that's your big dream, but you can. Secondly, the Odoo data in AI is selected. So instead of connecting everything by the Odoo standard features to AI the way I did it in the second example, so the more advanced AI is connected to everything, the Odoo standard AI really is connected to the things that it needs. It only gets the information it needs. Odoo kind of pre-selects that, So it's a bit more limited, a bit more secure to use these standard features instead of connecting through MCP. Thirdly, we have local storage. When you use AI, the chats and the files and the data is often stored on somebody else's server. And if that gets lost ever in the future, it's a bit problematic. Odoo instead stores all the information, so the AI database to search really quickly, but also your chats on the server, which means if somebody breaches your Odoo server, they can read those chats. But if they breach the Odoo server, they have access to all the data anyways. So that's some extra security because you don't store the data in two places where people could break into. Last but not least, you always bring your own model. By bringing your own API key, effectively, you can do whatever deal you want with the different AI providers on data security, processing location, and so on and so forth. And Odoo will never provide your API key, which then enables you to have the full power. And also there's no markups on the tokens. You probably have seen this in a lot of software systems. There's like, oh, you get 100 credits included. Nobody knows what 100 credits is, but I'm pretty convinced that there's at least a 3 or 4x markups on the tokens they use for those credits. Odoo doesn't do that, both on the security side and also on the cost side, you're fully protected. Now, how do we do that in practice? We use usually hyperscaler provided AI processing. This exists for AWS on Bedrock. It exists in the Azure AI Studio on Microsoft. In our case, we use Google Cloud a lot. So for us, it's obviously Google Cloud. We then make sure to select the EU processing zone. This makes sure that the data never leaves the EU, which is good for a lot of GDPR compliance topics. And at the same time, it's only then like processed there. We don't store chats anyway. In our case, we use Claude and Gemini models. We sometimes fiddle a bit with others, but production, we only use those two. And then we connect the same public cloud to all the different things we do, to AI automations, to agentic AI, to AI chats. We use that all over the place. So our data is always safe and processed in the same way. Doesn't matter where we use AI. In the end, we don't have any chats stored in the cloud or somebody else's SaaS service. We process on the cloud only on the fly, so the data is not stored there, and we use the custom encryption. So we bring the encryption key, so not even Google can decrypt our chats. And this allows us then to also connect that ourselves to everywhere. So we have the full power, full sovereignty on what happens with our data, and it can't really get leaked on the AI side of things. And we feel like right now this is going to be where the future is heading, that most companies are going to either buy directly on the AI model maker APIs, even though I think especially Claude data protection privacy is fairly problematic from our point of view. And people will just go to the big hyperscalers, buy the AI processing there, and then pay per token to make sure all the data is super safe, super secure, nothing gets lost. And you have good safety here. Cool. So what is the expectation of AI in the future? Right now, it always feels like we are running behind what AI can do, and we're finding new things every day, and it's developing a lot faster that we can actually understand what's happening. And that then always leads me to go a step back and think, hey, what is the expectation in the future? How is this all going to end? And for this, we have some thoughts. They might be completely wrong. They probably are completely wrong, as all predictions always are. But right now, one thing we're not 100% convinced of is this untold efficiency dream. We see it work really well in our own company in software development and process automation, also helping our consultants. But in a lot of side areas, we don't see a lot of value. For example, if you run mostly an inventory system like your wholesaler, on the sales side, yes, but in the warehouse, there's not so much AI usage yet. And we feel like these organizations are also not ready to adopt anything if it would be available now. So adoption is going to be really the main slowdown here. Secondly, the question comes up then, what is the human value? What do we do? Both as sales representatives, but also as ERP consultants. It's a question we think about a lot. And we believe that AI might not ever be better in making decisions in these kind of high complexity areas that require an incredible amount of context than people, and there's definitely going to be some sparring between people and AI going on. We believe the ownership and the drive to make sure things happen, that's really something that only people can do in the end, and be responsible towards other people. And then thirdly, which is one of the biggest points we see, is with AI, everything kind of converges to an average result, and there's no unique ideas. And in a lot of areas, effectively in all of business strategy, being differentiated is super important. So we think unique ideas that will differentiate businesses and will remain very valuable. And right now, we don't really see AI being able to do that. We even feel that writing with AI and using text that was written by AI feels super unnatural. And even in this presentation, most of the text was written by me as a human, bringing in my great unique ideas. Lastly, we have relationship and trust. Obviously, people are only going to trust people. And we feel that this is also going to be a core value that humans will still bring to the table. Last but not least, we are either still on the slope upwards or somewhere at the peak of the inflated expectations. Same as with the internet and every technology. Probably there's going to be some disillusionment. The bubble is going to burst at some point, we assume. And we're really, really excited to then see how the plateau of productivity looks. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, put them in the comments or write us a message. We're really excited to talk about AI with anyone, with partners, customers, Odoo users. And thank you so much for listening today. Bye-bye.